Are there new recruiting targets emerging for Jon Scheyer and Duke basketball? We're still waiting for the first commitment in the class of 2026. One thing we do know, official visit season's about to pick up.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on this Friday, August 15th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics, and we talk a whole lot about Duke men's basketball. And on today's show, we're going to do just that. We'll get recruiting updates from our guy, Brandon Jenkins, the national recruiting insider for 247 Sports. Official visits are starting to be set up for Duke, and new targets are starting to merge, some of them by way of the international route that we've seen Duke take a few different times as of late. So all of that coming up here on today's show. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Like this video, share it with your friends, as we're getting closer to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I can't wait to celebrate that milestone with all of you guys. So, without further ado, really excited to bring him on into today's show. Brandon Jenkins is here with us, man. And BZ, it's been awesome catching up with you over the last couple of weeks and months. For a while, it was like, man, the summer schedule is almost here. These big AAU events are about to take place. Now, all of a sudden, that's wrapped up. These basketball players are getting set to go back to their schools for their senior seasons and whatnot. And we've got official visits being set up now in the process. I hope you're doing well, my friend.
Yeah, man, more madness. It's just more madness in a different realm. But yeah, I am doing well and happy to be here on the show.
Yeah, dude, it's been fun this summer watching things unfold from a recruiting perspective. Over the last couple of summers, from the Duke perspective, it's been a summer headlined by Cooper Flagg, headlined by Cameron Boozer, these premier guys at the top of the class. But this national conversation that I'm hearing about, when you look at the class of 2026, when you look at some of the early guys in the class of 2027, there doesn't really appear to be these big-time names that are on that kind of Cooper Flagg and Cameron Boozer trajectory. Are you noticing the same?
Yeah, I don't think we will get that vibe until 2028. With this 26 and 27 class, I think what you're bringing in is just pieces, dudes who, kind of can fill a role that specialize in one specific thing rather than just being like a future franchise NBA guy or, a no-brainer number one player in the country. It's not that type of vibe. I mean, Tyron Stokes is, further like head and heels. He has that number one spot along the lines, but it doesn't seem like Duke is getting involved there. So with the guys that they're targeting, these are dudes who could really fill a role and specialize in different things that could, help the program win.
Okay, so we saw the summer play out for all of these guys, and you guys at 247 Sports and some of the other networks out there and whatnot do a great job of kind of updating these player rankings in real time, so to speak. And here we are looking at Duke, trying to put together a class, still don't have the first commitment of this 2026 class, which when you're used to having the number one class every single year, it's a little, sad that hasn't happened yet. We're waiting for the first guy to say he wants to play for the Brotherhood. But what we did see over the course of the summer, how about this run Jordan Smith Jr. has been on, man? Because now you look everywhere, he's nationally considered one of the very best players in the class of 2026.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think I mentioned this on the show before. He's like one of my favorite players.
Yeah, you were on him early. That's why I wanted to bring it up because, you gave us the insight, you gave us the tip, and now everybody else has followed suit. It's like, yeah, he is one of those guys.
Yeah, I definitely, last year, I think he had a shot at being the number one player in the class, and I was riding that wave all the way up to probably till the summer when I seen Tyron Stokes again, and then I realized like the talent and his body is it's the unteachable.
You tipped your cap.
He has. It just set him apart. But Jordan Smith is still the monster that he is. He brings that hard hat every game, and the reason why he's so widely recruited is because of the way he plays and how it fits. It could literally fit any school in the country. And that's why Duke is heavily on him. He brings that old school mentality, and he's all about winning, and he showed that this summer.
When you watch him play, from my perspective at least, and you've been doing this a whole lot longer and actually do this full time, evaluating these high school players, seems to play really strong and want to use his strength despite being a guard. And what's so fascinating to me watching this unfold is, this would be the guy that you kind of build your class around if you are Duke, looking at the class of 2026. But he's only 6'2", Brandon. And I know I'm just saying only 6'2", but we're looking at now 2 straight years, the Final Four team that just ended and the squad that's about to suit up this fall, where everybody on scholarship at Duke is at least 6'5".
Right.
Now we're swinging back, man.
Now the Blue Devils are all about positional size, as we know, but if they're fortunate to land Jordan Smith, I think the one thing that they do need to know is that he plays bigger than what he is. And that may be an understatement just because of the effect that he has on the game. He'll rebound, he'll block shots. Like I said, he's the first person that I've seen in a minute who can make highlight plays going after 50-50 balls. So let that speak for itself. Like you said, he's strong, he's long, he's powerful, and he plays with a hell of a motor. And he brings that throwback mentality to the game. Just think of somebody who has that Dennis Rodman approach at the guard spot, but is able to do multiple things on the court that impacts winning.
All right, so Jordan Smith Jr. now has set up an official visit to Duke on November 11th. So we're still a ways away. I mean, that's well into football season. Before that, he's already got visits set up to Kentucky, to Arkansas, and that sort of thing. Remind us of this process. What does official visit season kind of look like, and where exactly does Duke stand in this race for Jordan Smith Jr.?
Absolutely. The 2 schools that I would say in front when it comes to his when it comes to his recruitment in general is Duke and Arkansas. So Duke should feel well. I mean, obviously they have the PVI connections there with Darren and Pat being on the roster. But with Arkansas, you always have to watch out for John Calipari. Outside of JJ Andrews, who's an in-state kid, they haven't really got that out-of-state 5-star plug yet. Like, same for y'all, you know what I mean? So, I think this is going to end up being a Duke and Arkansas battle. Kentucky will try to get in there. Obviously, their brand speaks for itself and the moves that they've made in terms of, trying to incorporate a professional style within this college landscape. But I'm looking at Arkansas and Duke to be in front here, and a good old John Calipari Duke battle. We've seen it before, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited to see this one play out because I'm wearing Duke shaded glasses at all times, right? So there's a little bias that goes in there, but because of our conversations, you're making me feel good. This feels like one where Duke should feel pretty good about their positioning to land a guy like Jordan Smith Jr. A lot of people. You think about the traditional high school football recruiting timeline, and so many of these players, Brandon, want to get it out of the way, their commitment before the season gets started, right? It's been so busy these last couple of weeks before we see the first Friday night lights of the senior season. It kind of feels like I see that from time to time in basketball as well. I know they've got the November signing period window that will open up for these guys at a certain point. And certainly when you get into November, that's when you'll see their high school basketball seasons tip off and get ready to go and that sort of thing. Is that the similar thought for many of these top guys, is let me get this done before my senior season starts to play out?
I think that depends upon leverage and situation. It's tricky. We've seen some kids commit early. There was a group of kids that committed in the month of July, right after the grassroots season ended. There's kids that I talk to that want to sign early in the November early signing period, even though I don't think signing period is still a thing. But just being able to get the decision before November, that's something that they're looking into. But then there's other kids. I think I'm expecting the kid like Jordan Smith to kind of wait it out. He has leverage. He's a top 2, top 3 player in the country. Some kids are worried about the transfer portal. You think of a kid like a Caden Lewis who signed to Kentucky in November, December area, and then Kentucky goes out and recruits a Jalen Lowe and a bunch of guards, and now his role is up in the air, it's up for question. And so I think Jordan Smith might be one of those players who may take his time just to see how things weighs out, just to see what the role is, see what the style of play is, just to get a better feel before he makes his decision. And I think we can see a lot of top-tier kids. Well, not a lot, but probably a select few of top-tier kids doing the same thing. Because with the transfer portal, it just makes everything so quickly. It just makes everything.
You could drag it out a little bit, and it could just be that. Yeah, it's yeah, very interesting how it all plays out and that sort of thing. But hopefully Duke finds themselves still in a good spot for Jordan Smith Jr. All right, let's go ahead and we'll take our first time out here on today's show. When we come back, a couple of other guys that we want to highlight, some new targets possibly emerging for Duke basketball, and so much more. Locked On Blue Devils today is brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room and so much more, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed so many cool things from around the house and in the living room from Wayfair, and it's been the perfect addition to my home. Get organized right now, refreshed, and back into a routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Wayfair is a proud sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. Okay, we keep going. Brandon Jenkins is here with me, 247 Sports, talking Duke basketball recruiting. We mentioned nobody has committed yet to the class of 2026 for Duke, although we've seen a couple of official visits set up. We've also seen some unofficial visits take place as of late, and one of those being Sayon Keita by way of FC Barcelona in the class of 2027. There's some thought that he could possibly reclass in the class of 2026. He plays for FC Barcelona like Dame Sarr now does for Duke, and the Blue Devils were one of the schools that he came by to visit. We're reading he's here for just a couple of days. He goes and visits Duke and Kentucky and some of the big schools that you would kind of attach his name to. But this appears to be more of a trend, Brandon. We saw Kaman Malawach. This year we're going to see Dame Sarr, who you were giving us all the updates on. And maybe we're going back into those international waters as John Shire is looking to literally recruit across the globe.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always wondered, growing up, why international kids were not allowed to play college basketball. And then, when you think about the professional landscapes and the NCAA and how they were about money, it made sense. But it's wild that we're in these times now where you could actually build relationships with dudes from the same program. And it seems like Duke has their in there naturally with the whole FC Barcelona realm. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. And people are using these, coaches are using these kids to win now. And it's so wild just seeing how, the European landscape and their top players and how it translates, to the college basketball game, because obviously it's just a different brand of basketball.
And the pitch to, a 7-foot center who plays for FC Barcelona is literally, we just did this with Kaman Malawach, right? He's a lottery pick. He's top. He's all the things. Come and be a part of this. And so certainly we'll see how that kind of plays out for Duke when you're looking for that premier kind of piece in the middle to anchor a defense. There aren't 7-footers walking around every single day that are easy to win in recruiting battles and that sort of thing, Brandon. So anytime you're kind of attached to one or someone shows a little bit of interest, you got to play it out.
Absolutely. And just the European landscape, I guess it gives them another chance just to recruit bigs. I mean, obviously we know the size are across the waters, and it seems like John Shire is taking advantage of that.
All right, so other names that Duke's been attached to as of late. I know Cameron Williams is a player that also appears to have a really good summer, climbed up the 247 rankings a good bit as well. I know he's from the West Coast out there in the Arizona, Phoenix area, I should say, Brandon. What do you know about this guy? Describe him as a player.
Yeah, kind of a late bloomer in a way. I know that he's moved up, but I think his best basketball is ahead of him. The one thing that I love about him is, you have the size at 6'10", 6'11", but the touch. He has this level of touch. When I first watched him play, it reminded me kind of LaMarcus Aldridge and how he was his comfort in scoring from the mid-range. I talked to him before in December. Kid seems like he has a great head on his shoulders. He plays for an historic Compton Magic program where they're all about culture. So he's all about the right things. I think this is a type of guy that the Blue Devils would love to lock in on. And I know he has a lot of West Coast visits. I believe he's visiting USC, Purdue, Arizona, and Texas, in addition to visiting Duke. So it'll be interesting to see. He has a slate of visits from coaches that, have a good history of getting the job done with players of his caliber.
What is it? Yeah, no, I think October 3rd is when he's expected to be there on campus there for Duke. That's right around the countdown to craziness weekend for the Blue Devils. So you'll get to see some live action blue-white game on a visit like that. So super excited for him to be there and take that in. When you look at these official visits, it's good to have one, right? If a basketball player says, I don't want to go there for an OV, you kind of figure out quickly where you fit in to all of this. But looking at building together a strong class, is Cameron Williams a guy that would add to that for Duke?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He's a different type of piece because, like I said, you're talking about a 6'11" dude who is on the thinner, slighter side of things. So I think he'll have to get physically adjusted to the college basketball game, but he's skilled. So at the end of the day, as it depends on how quick he builds up his body to see how ready he is for the physicality of college basketball. But at the end of the day, his talent weighs so much more. He'll be an NBA draft prospect simply off his talent alone and his upside.
All right, as we look at this class of 2026, another player that we've talked about a little bit with this Duke team, being Jordan Smith Jr., being Cameron Williams. I know Brandon McCoy Jr. is another player that's always been up there towards the top. What's kind of the latest with him? How did the summer go for McCoy?
Yeah, well, he was an interesting one because he sat out the spring just doing workouts, and then he joined Arizona Unity towards the end of the year. We're talking about a 6'4" combination guard who's known for his defense first, and he plays with a winner's mentality. But with him, his recruitment is kind of open. It's been quiet. We know he took the visit to Duke last year, and I got a chance to talk to him at Peach Jam, but he was really quiet about when he wants to do a list cut with visits he's setting. So things within his recruitment and who's prioritizing him are still up in the air, and we're just waiting for an announcement or something from his camp in the coming days. Yeah,
I saw recently he's got a November 1st visit kind of lined up with Duke, but again, it's a different approach, it appears. Sean Shire has said, he's not necessarily locking in on all of the big 5-6 people recruiting classes that they've been known to have, because you want to focus on the transfer portal and all of these things. But every year we come back to this, Brandon, and it's like when the best players in the country want to play at your school, it's really hard to say, nope, we already have 2 guys. I can't take on a 3rd freshman. We already got 2 of them. And year after year, it kind of feels like that's where Duke finds themselves.
No, absolutely. I mean, look at last year's team, right? There was just so many freshmen, but they blended it in well with good veteran dudes who brought physicality, who brought size. And so I think they're marching to the tune of that same beat and trying to lock in on some dudes that'll help them win.
Okay, one more visit to kind of touch on here for Duke. Maximo Adams, and a guy that we really haven't talked a whole lot about, is going to come visit Duke on November 8th. So again, deeper into to football season. Duke will actually be in the season, the basketball season itself, when this takes place. Maximo Adams, though, this is a new name that we're going to have to get used to. But from everything we're reading and hearing, Brandon, it seems like he also had a very impressive summer and starts to climb the rankings.
Absolutely, yeah. Very impressive July. 6'7" forward who could stretch the floor. And he just sees the opportunity, and I think that's why Duke got involved. And, just from the film that I watched on him, it seems like he plays with a passion, so that's always exciting. His brother Marcus, I believe, plays at Cal State Northridge. I know his brother Marcus transferred a lot, and, this day and age, it's hard to track.
Sure.
But, yeah, somebody who could stretch the floor in the front court, and, he could fill a role. I believe he set more visits as well. I believe that news came out, but don't quote me on that. I'm really unsure with who else he scheduled it with. I believe Kentucky got a visit in.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, somebody who could stretch the floor at the 4 spot in this day and age. The modern era of college basketball is all about shooting, so that can always be prioritized.
Absolutely. And if the more shooters you got, the better you feel about everything all around. So pretty excited about where Duke basketball stands recruiting-wise in 2026 right now. Again, just kind of waiting for that first commit to come through. So let's step aside. We'll take one final time out here on the program today and then start to wrap up our conversation with Brandon Jenkins here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Super excited to see all of the MVP races. Is this a bounce back year for a guy like Patrick Mahomes? I'll be looking at all of those things. Long shot Super Bowl odds. When you look at the futures, can our Carolina Panthers finally win the Super Bowl for the first time ever? I'll certainly be getting in on the action. Again, FanDuel Futures Day coming up on August 26th. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, let's keep this thing going. I've got Brandon Jenkins here from 247 Sports giving us recruiting updates and a rundown for the Duke Blue Devils. You got to see a lot of various players over the course of the summer in the grassroots season, and talking about Duke still looking for their first recruit, or maybe even turning your eye and attention to 2027, Brandon, a Duke-specific thought or idea. What are you kind of thinking about when you lay out these recruiting thoughts for Duke right now?
Yeah, two players come to mind. Marcus Spears Jr. I know Duke got on him early when Jay Lucas was on staff, and I think they're picking it up. With the rest of the assistants on staff. He mentioned to me this summer that Duke was one of the schools recruiting him hardest. Just a 6'8" hybrid forward who plays really hard. He's the son of ESPN analyst and former Baltimore Ravens defensive lineman. I'm not a football guy. Marcus Swagoo Spears Sr. And so this is a kid who holds his hat on playing hard. It's so crazy when you see kids built like him, you automatically think of the word upside, but he comes to compete no matter, who's stronger, who's taller, who's more physical. This dude he's coming at dudes next. And he has ways to go from a skill perspective, but it's coming along. But this is a guy who holds his hat on hitting the glass, guarding multiple positions, and he's making strides and being able to hit open shots. So he's about the right things, and he's a tremendous long-term talent. And then with CJ Rosser, you're talking about a 6'9" stretch forward out of Northern Nash, North Carolina. He just transferred to Florida. I don't know the exact city in North Carolina. But he just made this move to Southeastern Prep to play for David Peavy. And just a guy who is a prototypical hybrid, 3-4 type, prefers to be on the perimeter, boasts a pretty jumper. And like Spears, the upside is in his body. He just has to gain functional strength and physical maturity. And then the best basketball we'll see come out of him. But these are two long-term guys that definitely don't lack in talent, and guys that you should expect John Shire to go after.
I love to hear it. I mean, top names, especially someone like Marcus Spears Jr. Yeah, that's exciting too. Everybody can they see his dad on ESPN talking NFL stuff all the time. And from a football player to now you've got this great basketball player son. It's awesome for Duke to kind of be in the mix there and that sort of thing. We'll see. Hopefully soon. You keep us optimistic all the time, Brandon. But, I mean, should we keep those optimistic vibes for Duke as they're building out the class of 2026? Again, they still don't have a commit yet, but do you think Duke should feel pretty good about where things stand right now?
Yeah, I actually want to shed light on two other dudes that we didn't talk about. Duke is prioritizing Texas these days. At the end of the month, they're getting a visit from Austin Gooseby. I think it'll be his second official visit. He visited SMU earlier this month. I think he's scheduled to visit them August 27th. And, this is a guy who is interesting because Austin Gooseby and Jordan Smith, they bring kind of that same type of vibe. Like they can impact the game without scoring. What you love about Austin Gooseby is the fact that he can defend, he deflects passes, he makes the extra pass on the offensive end, he rebounds. And he has a great feel for getting his teammates involved. And he moves different than everybody else. The way he moves on the court is just different than everybody else. It's graceful, it's fluid. He can do a lot of things on the court as well. The Achilles heel is his jumper, but at the end of the day, he's a team-oriented guy. And it'll be interesting to see how they prioritize Gooseby and Jordan Smith because they kind of bring that same type of mentality. And I wonder if it's going to be on a first-come, first-served basis or, how they're going to handle that. And then they're also prioritizing Bryson Howard, the son of former two-time NBA All-Star Josh Howard. He plays his high school basketball at Frisco Heritage. And this is a guy who had a meteoric rise this summer. He was the biggest stock riser of the grassroots season. He's been known to make open shots. He shot 45% from three in the EYBL. He has a +7 wingspan, and he's young for the grade. I think he just turned 17 this month. And just a guy who's consistently productive, makes open shots, and is about the right things. With the NBA pedigree, it's just an extra plus. And so I know that that's a dude that Duke is really locking in on, and that the staff is very high on as well.
Yeah, and ACC pedigree, right, with Josh Howard having a good career there at Wake Forest, and it'd be cool to get his son now to kind of switch ACC lines and suit up for Duke there in the future. All right, I'm feeling good, man. I'm excited to kind of see who's going to be that first class of 2026 guy, and the season's going to be here before we know it, man. I mean, November 4th, first game of the season for Duke basketball. I do have to get your thoughts here. I know people were reaching out to me saying, we got to ask Brandon Jenkins about the first game of the year for Duke. We're used to seeing, the first game of the season, Brandon, being the smaller schools that you're going to win by a whole lot. You feel good afterwards. First game of the year in college basketball from Charlotte, neutral site game between the Duke Blue Devils and the Texas Longhorns. A really fun matchup there to kind of open up the year. When you see that, a school that you know and love quite well, what are you thinking going into this?
First thing I always think is Duke never really ducks any smoke. I mean, these last recent years, it's just every year in the month of November, they always have these big time matchups. So
yeah,
credits to John Shire for not ducking smoke and winning this team. Just to get an idea of where his team is at earlier on in the season, I think that's how you get better. And this is going to be interesting because obviously it's Sean Miller's first official game, coaching at Texas. And so it looks like he ain't ducking any smoke either. But we don't know what to think of that new look Texas team. And then with Duke, we always expect greatness out of Duke.
Is that the storyline? Because Duke's got the 5 returners and didn't have anybody go in the transfer portal, which was such an outlier. And then 5 brand new faces that are freshmen stepping up to join the squad. And then you mentioned Texas. They had a coaching change take place. So a whole lot of new players. Is that kind of the big storyline matchup-wise that you're looking at? The school that returns a whole lot of guys, and then this roster that was put together very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously Sean Miller, with it being his first game at Texas, I feel like that would be a big deal too. But yeah, man, this day and age in the transfer portal, who's returning, who's staying and whatnot. But I do know that, Duke coming out there, I think they're expected to be great. They have great talent on that team. Like you mentioned, the 5 freshmen, their returners definitely fill a role. So it should be exciting. I know I graduated from the University of Texas, but I probably will lean on the Duke side this round. But Texas has their returners as well, and Sean Miller is doing a great job. So it should be a fun game.
I can't wait. It's going to open up the season on November 4th again. Brandon, it's so good to see you as always. How could people follow your work and support you, man?
Absolutely. On Twitter and Instagram, it will be at bjenkins247. And just please be on the lookout for 24/7 commitment announcements, as well as more official visit date announcements and list cuts. We're in the midst of that season where kids are starting to dwindle their list down, and we want to be on top of it all. So please follow us for more.
We'll do it. My guy. Thanks for being here, man. We'll do it again soon, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. That's Brandon Jenkins joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. And that brings us to a close here today for the podcast. Really excited about the future of Duke basketball. When you hear about some of these new recruits, new targets, is Duke going to go the FC Barcelona route again? And some of the other cool names for us to highlight and so much more. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again soon. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.